All right. Let's see, once this gets started, looks like it is live. Can you guys hear me? I'm not seeing anything. Okay, it looks like I'm seeing stuff now. Let me know if you guys can hear me while I take a drink of my tea. It's quite cold. I've got 3 layers on and I am very cold still. So I do apologize if I'm sipping my tea a little bit or too much or something. So let me know if you guys can hear me okay. I think everything is set up, but do need to get some feedback on that. So I know there's always a little lag too. I guess that's one of the good things about having done stuff like this and then doing online classes is I'm very used to this silence. So that's good, I think. I have a Tulsi, I think is the company, chai tea here. And we've also got a, what's it called? Earl Grey. I think it's by Twinings. Let me go ahead and move my microphone closer just to see if that helps at all. All right. So hopefully that'll work. I'm just going to check the Discord to make sure everybody is able to join us. Cool. All right. So it looks like everybody is. Nope. That's bad. Stop being bad. Yeah, if you hear any noises, the cats are, I don't know what has possessed them today, but they have been possessed, haven't they? Haven't you, Krampus? There he is. I'm not sure if the live chat is just not working. So let me go ahead and try to pop it out. Maybe that'll work. Oh, nope. Still not working. Let's see. I guess that's okay. We can always get started. The problem was that I did want this to be a bit of an interactive thing. That is why we're going to start with this page. But of course we don't have to do that. That is okay too. So this idea of aliens, I think, has always intrigued me. I have a lot of alien stuff. I actually am wearing alien gauges, I guess they are. I've got an alien shirt, which says "We are not alone." So I am a big fan of the concept. Do I believe that aliens have visited Earth in the capacity that is discussed in popular culture? No. Might they have? Okay, perhaps. But there's no reliable evidence thereof, and that's what is stopping me from going ahead and just saying, yes, this is totally true. We do talk about a couple things that people mention in terms of like an ancient aliens kind of thing, because I do teach history, and I do bring it up so the students know that they might hear about it later. And it's stuff like the pyramid building, for example, in ancient Egypt. And I say, could there have been aliens and they're the ones who guided us and directed it? Sure. Is there evidence of it? No. So until that time, I don't see a reason to believe it. We do know about like Imhotep and stuff, these ancient architects, So, and speaking of Egypt, let's see. Here is Shuggle. Hi Lee, so glad to have found you. YouTube, maybe the Greys are attempting to block you from discussing this subject. How are they blocking me? It just didn't pop up? Now everybody's here is popping up. Maybe it is the Greys. Oh no. Which aliens, I think you're talking about, immigrants? Remember, I'm an immigrant. Okay. The only word I've ever seen for aliens in my language is, I'm gonna mispronounce that, but I'm guessing it's Kaukabi, which means star people. All right. Well, that's... Yeah, I think it's unfortunate in English the word kind of doubles. And actually I tell my students that I'm an alien, and they are like, oh, haha, teacher, no, you're not. And then I show them my alien residence card, and it says alien right on there in English. And so then they laugh. So, oh, Krampus, what did you pick up? What is this? He has a stick in his fur. This is the Maine Coon problem. And he's hitting, if you hear any like light brushes, this is not me trying to do any like alien ASMR. This is Krampus's tail brushing gently. Today, the lesser of two evils is to keep him in this room. Hey, that's not okay. This is not for you. Just relax. Go make bread. That's what you do. That's what you always do. So he's just being bad. I was looking for just a few things to discuss. When we discuss about aliens, there's the totally scientific kind of approach to it. Or there's the not at all scientific approach to it. And I kind of wanted to discuss both of those. And in trying to get some things ready to discuss, I also wanted to look up the Fermi paradox. And I found this really helpful, interesting graphic, and so I thought we could discuss some of the things there. Once we get Krampus down, Krampus, you're gonna knock everything over. This is bad. Yes, it's bad. Oh, my goodness. Krampus might have greater wisdom to share regarding the matter. Let him feel free to chime in. Krampus? Yeah? They want to hear what you have to say. Is it okay? Krampus? That's what he has to say about it. Come on. You want to be good or you want to be bad? Let's go. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. All right. Annyeong, Obyung, how are you? I think that the Ferengi are very underrated aliens. The rules of acquisition are hilarious. I'm not familiar with the entirety of the rules of acquisition. But I know they have some very, very humorous rules for us, mere Earthlings. The SETI project has tried to take some of the spookiness out of the matter and take real steps to search for life outside of the Earth's magnetic gravitational boundaries. Yes. What is it? SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, I think is the meaning behind the acronym. And so for those of you that aren't familiar with SETI, they are trying to receive any type of transmissions that could be accidentally leaving these planets where there might be intelligent life. Sort of like how we might not be directing any kind of signals to be sent out to be received by some alien planet, but our planet just makes like radio waves and stuff. So we've produced television programs, for example, and that kind of doesn't get contained in Earth. It sort of leaks off, right? So we're hoping to maybe pick up, I guess, an alien sitcom. Would be the kind of idea. Can you imagine? Just that's what we end up finding is some. I guess that what Futurama already did that, right? Where the alien race had found, what was it, Ally McBeal. The Omicronians had found that, yeah. So that was a good time. Klaatu Barada Nikto. Now, what was that again? Every time people say that, it's like a reference to aliens, but I always think it's related to the Necronomicon in Army of Darkness. I don't know why this keeps getting crossed, unless it is what it is. Travis Walton just did a podcast with Joe Rogan. I don't know who Travis Walton is, but if you want to share what was there, from what I've seen of Joe Rogan, he just kind of allows people to talk, which I guess is good. That's what a talk show host should do, right? China recently created one huge satellite dish where it used to take the US and 20 other countries, and their dishes pointing in one direction to do the job. Let's see what China can do. Yeah, let's see what China can do. That's very exciting. That's very exciting. So for those of you who don't know, the Fermi paradox is kind of based on the Drake equation. And the Drake equation, it sort of tries to take into account possible habitable planets that are similar to Earth. And once you plug and chug some of the numbers, you end up with, oh yeah, all these planets are going to have so much alien life. And so the Fermi paradox, in short, is basically, if we assume that there's all this life in the universe and that life is not unique in the universe, where is it? How come we haven't found it? So we have started, or we've approved it. I don't think we've sent anything yet, but we have approved a probe to Enceladus, which is one of Saturn's moons, and it has water ice, but it also has liquid water, and so that's really cool. And of course, we don't need liquid water for life, but we need liquid water for life as we know it. So this is a really good place for us to start, because one of the problems is that if we find a planet where the life is so different from what we're used to, we might not initially recognize it as life. So if we find a planet where the alien life there appears as if it were rocks, and the metabolism, for example, was so low that these rock creatures barely moved, don't typically digest, they can stop most of their like organs or something to kind of shut down and conserve energy, it would appear to us that it is a barren, rocky planet. But in reality, these rocks would actually be alive. We just wouldn't be able to recognize it readily. So that's why checking a place for liquid water with water ice, that's a good place for us to start, just because we kind of have an idea of what we're looking for. Let's see. Catchphrase of the day, from the day the earth stood still. That's what it was. Thank you. Don't panic. I don't think anybody's panicking. Are you panicking, Mark? Do we know if the liquid water is truly water or just liquid? What if it's methane or some other substance? Not the furry paradox. Oh my goodness. What would the furry paradox be? I just saw something that had recommended that some like Hollywood hire furries, so that way the anthropomorphic creatures they create are better than just like a really human looking face on a human body. Maybe that would be the furry paradox, that we would get better anthropomorphic stuff, but they would be like disturbingly good looking. I don't know. No, we do know it is H2O. Yeah. So we're able to tell like the chemical signatures of stuff even from far away, which is really awesome. And so of course we do know there are some planets and moons within our solar system that have like liquid methane, gases that are not typically found on Earth or conducive to our type of life. So with this on Enceladus, it's really, really cool because we know it is water, like liquid water. So that's the really cool thing. It appears that there's a couple ways that we think that there is liquid water, because you might be wondering, if it's ice on the surface, then how could it be warm enough to be liquid underneath? So one of the ideas is a type of friction heat caused by when the moon is orbiting Saturn, that type of tidal push and pull that would happen to the water, or the substance would heat it up enough to become water. Another idea is that it has like a hot core, and so that's causing that like geothermal heat. I guess what it would be and celadothermal heat, because geo would be for Earth. So those are some of the ideas that it could be, that could be the cause of it being liquid water. So that's really cool. I'm very excited for that. Of course, finding anything, a bacterium, a virus, anything would be super cool to find. But I'm really holding out for maybe some kind of jellyfish. That's what I'm excited for, like a jellyfish or an octopus or something like that. That's what would really like excite me for sure. So Arval, I'm not sure if you're just here sharing some common conspiracies, but this was a fun one. I don't know if you actually believe it or if you're just sharing it. But UFOs built by Nazis from Antarctica and ETs aren't real. I don't know if that's what you are just sharing because some people just share common beliefs or common conspiracies in the chat when we do these, and some people actually believe them. So if you can specify which group that you are with, that would be cool. And the way that I see it is, if you are joining us and you believe something that's not necessarily mainstream, of course I do want to ask you about it, learn more about it, but please, let's not make fun of anyone for their beliefs. Unless it's Krampus. We can make fun of Krampus, can't we? You little jerk. Yep. To not make fun of them, it's, even if we don't agree with them, we're likely not going to be able to change their mind. They're likely not going to be able to change our mind, but at least we can come to some kind of understanding, so we can understand why they have that belief. So Arval, you said you're agnostic. Are you saying you're agnostic to this concept, or are you talking about religiously? Stupid, smelly Krampus. He's not smelly. Hello? Yeah, he's licking himself. He's trying. Okay, maybe you hurt his feelings with that. All right. Krampus is my uncle. Yes, he is. He loves you very much, Nikki. All right. So this graphic appears to be trying to address some of the ideas that could maybe clarify the Fermi paradox or try to provide an answer for the Fermi paradox, which again is this concept of, if there's so much life in the universe, why haven't we found it? Okay. Careful, Lee. Krampus only allows you to live with him because he sees you as a useful human for now. Well, I did give him a treat, so hopefully he will be okay. That's how I lured him in there. All right, so down the rabbit hole is where we're going to start. We'll just start with the left and go all the way down, and then the right and go all the way down, and then scroll down together. Okay. So we haven't found evidence of extraterrestrials because our reality is an elaborate illusion, as in we are living in a computer simulation created by our alien overlords who make the rules. How do you guys feel about that one? So we haven't found aliens because we are a simulation. We've talked about this a few times in previous live streams about this idea that we are in a simulation. Are you guys okay with that? Like, for me, if I found out tomorrow that we were part of a simulation, I think that would be like a surprise, like, oh, now we know, kind of like that kind of surprise. But beyond that, I would be very curious about what kind of lives the programmers lead. Did they build this based on the universe? Is it totally different? If so, what's the real universe like? But beyond that, I don't think I would be bothered. To me, if I'm artificial intelligence, as far as I'm concerned, I'm still having these experiences. Do you know what I mean? So I'm still able to pursue things that make me happy and things that try to avoid things that make me not happy. So for me, I wouldn't be too bothered by that. But what about you guys? How would you feel if you found out today, beyond like they demonstrated it, so there's no confusion, there's no room for question, or, hey, I'm not really sure this person hasn't met their burden of proof. Like, we knew, if we were able to know for a fact that we are in a simulation, that we are some kind, like, we're like Sims, like the Sims game for some programming race or something, how would you feel? Let's see. I like graphs like this because it takes complex concepts and makes them easily digestible. Yes. These are really, really helpful, and that's kind of why I wanted to have it as sort of this big thing, as opposed to just, I had it like on the Google image thing, and so it had all the other images, and I thought, no, you know what, let's make this real big and blow it up. I also have my glasses so I can read it. I don't believe this idea because too many distractions, but I would be okay with it, but also upset. Why do you think you would find yourself upset? Is the rabbit hole part of what came out of the Matrix franchise? Kind of, except I would say the big difference between this and the Matrix would be that we are 100% AI. That we are a game. For whatever reason. I mean, we make games like that. We have The Sims. We have these like evolution games where we can have different kinds of life, kind of take these different evolutionary paths and stuff. So we understand that there is an interest in games like this. So that would be the idea. The Matrix instead is that humans made robots, and then the robots decided to take over and use our bodies for energy. And so they keep us alive and then put us into a virtual reality. So that's different. That would mean we created the robots, so there's not aliens involved. And that we have physical bodies outside of the virtual reality. And that's not what this is saying. This is more like we are a program. That's it. We're just a program. So there's no outer body. This is not the brain in a vat scenario. We are 100% a programmed artificial intelligence, like, video game. So that's sort of the idea. Let's see what you guys have said. I would doubt the simulation model, as there would be people that would pierce through it, and humans have the propensity to royally mess stuff up that is working well. Murphy's Law 2.0. I think I would disagree with that. How many times has that happened in a video game? Do you know what I'm saying? How many times has one of the characters overridden the programming and ruined it, right? You program it so that can't happen. Like, that's not something that the game has access to, its own programming to change it. Do you know what I'm saying? So it would just be, again, in the exact same way that The Sims exists, that would be us existing for an alien race. Or even a human race. I say the programmer is biased. Well, sure. But biased against what? The first intelligent self-replicating systems expand too rapidly in a galaxy to allow for others. Any advanced life that exists is anthropically selected not to exist with galactic neighbors. I'm not sure how you came to that conclusion. Are you talking about purely like a self-replicating system, like any system, like us? Or are you talking about like an artificial, like an AI type of thing? Also, to say that, advanced life would not exist with galactic neighbors. There's sort of this idea that advanced life that could go out like that would have sort of a lot of rules and regulations for it, sort of like the whole Star Trek thing, where you're not supposed to interfere, you're not supposed to attack, that sort of thing. So I feel like if we had gone to the point where we would be, or any life would be able to explore, it could be aggressive. I don't rule that out, but I don't think it necessarily must be. Do you know what I mean? If this is a simulation, was there a transition into being a simulation that we somehow didn't notice? Or have we been simmed for 7 billion? So the idea would be that we have been simmed for 7 billion years, except it's the same as like in a game. You can have your character start off as like a baby and grow. Ocarina of Time, for example, when, it was, when we're watching Link and it's like young Link, and then he gets older, he gets like 7 years or something passes in the game. It doesn't pass in our time. So even though it would be an idea of we've existed in this simulation for 7 billion, or I'm not sure why you said 7 billion, but like 13 point whatever billion years for our universe, that doesn't mean 13 billion years had passed for the alien race. It just means in our local time. Does that make sense? Let's see. So Arvel, you say that's the resolution to Fermi's paradox, but of course, so I brought up a point that I think would maybe be a question to raise. But I do always, ask that we take a step back and say, if this is a paradox that is causing so many people so many questions, and I've decided I've solved it, perhaps I haven't considered everything. Yeah. Hello, Dual Flame. Right, so we would not count as AI. So we would not count AI is alien is we made it. I'm not sure what you mean by that phrasing. Can you rephrase that, please, Sugar? Let's see. I think we're likely in a simulation because of quantum mechanics. Do you mean that because mechanics and physics behave differently at a quantum level than they do at our level, that this must be a simulation? Is that what you're saying? Let's see. The programmer introduced God when she or he did have a working algorithm. In what way? Or did not have a working algorithm. Okay. I've long maintained we're part of a program. My suspicion is that the programmers are too alien for us to even understand existence in their context. It could be, but I also, think about the fact that when we make a lot of games, we tend to put very similar physics as we have. We tend to model a lot of the characters after humans or humanoid type things. If we're thinking like Dragon Age Inquisition, the Canary were similar enough to humans. Do you know what I mean? They're different in some key ways, but they're so similar that we wouldn't see them and say that this is, we wouldn't be so scared of them as like totally wholly alien, right? They still have, forward facing eyes, a nose, a mouth, 2 arms, 2 legs, average height for a tall person, that kind of thing. They have musculature that builds and reduces the same way as a human does, for example. So I don't know that necessarily our programmers would be so different from us. Do you know what I mean? They could be, of course. We have games and things, but it may be that creativity is kind of limited in that sense, that if we made it so wildly different, it would be too difficult to play the game for most people. Just because, it's like when you do those inverted controls, right? And so you try to turn left, but you go right. Like that sort of thing is just so difficult because it's so different from what you would expect. People end up getting kind of frustrated with that type of gaming. There's a novelty in it, but that novelty wears off pretty fast. At least for people like me, I have a hard time playing games that are so out there, because I don't know what to do next. I don't know what's going to happen. So again, there's like a novelty factor, but not like a long lasting kind of thing. So they could be totally different from us, but I don't think that that's necessary. Yeah. Let's see. The Prime Directive. Yes. Hello, Panda. Let's see. I wouldn't be bothered. If anything, I'd be slightly cheered to have the burden of final and only existence lifted. Do you think that we would be reset? Like, if you could reset the game, would we come back? I wonder. Damn, I missed the start. No notification in Discord. I did post a notification that it's starting on the half hour. It was going to start on the hour, then there was a medical thing. So it started on the half hour, yeah. What I mean is, if we made AI and then it took over as listed in the Matrix, this would not count as the rabbit hole. Oh, right. So that's not what this is saying. This is about alien life specifically. Yeah. And so with the Matrix, even though it's like robotic and everything, all of that is still on Earth. So it's humans on planet Earth making AI on planet Earth, and those AI stay on planet Earth and then use humans that are also on planet Earth, and our bodies are physical and exist on planet Earth, and then we also have a virtual reality kind of thing. So that's separate from the Fermi paradox thing down the rabbit hole that we're talking about. In this thing, that the down the rabbit hole one that we're speaking about here specifically is an alien race. Like, Earth doesn't even exist. That's the kind of idea. Earth doesn't exist. Humans don't exist. All these animals that we see around them don't actually exist. That everything that we know as reality is only a video game. That's kind of how you can think about it. Because, yeah, we can say simulation, but let's just go ahead and just really separate that concept. Like a video game. And so that it only exists here, just like when we make video games, we totally invent new races, new weapons, new animals, new planets that just don't even exist. We just make them up. That would be us. So we would just be some entertainment for a race that we can't comprehend. Or maybe we can. Maybe they're the Greys, right? Maybe they kind of insert themselves in there as a joke for themselves. That would be kind of funny. I've seen aliens during astral projection that had morphology not comparable to anything on Earth. I guess the question would be, how would you determine that they're aliens? When you were talking about astral projection, where did you go? Where did you find them? So those are some of the questions I would have. How would an entity that we can't understand programming us to be different than a god? That's just rebranding. I don't think it would be different than a god. No. I mean, if you think about a god as all-powerful, outside of space-time, existing before the universe, and having the power to create, it would be a god. But it wouldn't be supernatural. That's the big difference. So a lot of people's idea of a god is supernatural. These would still be natural gods. They would live and die. They're not eternal. They're not all-knowing. You know, those other qualities that we kind of attach to like these monotheistic gods, where they are unable to die. Like, they're totally immortal. That they know everything, they can see everything, control everything, they know everything about the past, the present, and the future. That wouldn't apply to these gods. They would just be natural, mortal. I mean, they could be immortal, but they don't have to be, is what I'm saying. They could know everything, I guess. They could be like immortal psychics, I guess, but they don't have to. So the idea here would just be they're like a programmer. They live, they die, they have other problems, they're not perfect, things like that. Yeah, that would be the big difference. Are there any Discordians on Discord? I mean, I'm sure there's people on Discord. Quantum mechanics to me seems like the ultimate plot convenience science. Every time we look at how it works, we change our opinion about it. Right. I try to tell the students that, you know, if you have a hard time understanding quantum physics, it's okay. Quantum physicists don't understand quantum physics. We know that some things happen, and we know that we can make we can make predictions and stuff, so we know it's a science in that sense. Why does it behave that way? We don't know. Let's see. We're supposed to change our minds to fit the findings. That's science. It's true. I was flying through a dark world, and then I saw a portal which led to an alien game show room where there was some lewd acts going on, but at least it was interdimensional cable. That sounds similar actually to season 7, episode 1 of South Park. Canceled was the title of that. Could it have been that might have, something like that could have maybe tainted this perception? What do you think? All right, so that's one of these. Okay, so again, we're gonna go down. Our wires are crossed. It's very possible that other intelligent life forms are actively sending transmissions into space. We simply don't use the same range of frequencies. Radio waves, for instance, or perhaps everyone is listening and no one's talking. Okay, so what is your thought about that? Okay. I don't think this is as deep of a discussion as the first one. Do you think that this is what could be happening? That we're all just trying to listen and nobody's really attempting to send out a lot of signals? That perhaps we're sending the wrong signals, or they're sending the wrong signals. Their signals are so different from what we would expect that we have no way to pick them up. I kind of think it's just a distance thing, honestly. I think we're just too far. So, our radio waves haven't gone very far. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I am with that. I've not seen it, but there's something similar on Rick and Morty. Okay, so maybe that had also kind of tainted it. So, perhaps it wasn't necessarily like however you would phrase it, a genuine astral projection, but perhaps it was more like a lucid dream that was tainted by something you might have seen. That's just my question. Like, how would you differentiate that? The wires across reminds me of that vision sequence in The Prince of Darkness, in which people of the future were transmitting from the year 1999 using tachyon particles and sending the images back. I'm not sure if I saw that. But perhaps. If aliens exist, I don't think they're close by or visiting us. I doubt they'd even be capable of traveling across our galaxy or theirs. They could be just as unremarkable as us, or even less. Right. I mean, if there's intelligent life, maybe they're having all the same arguments that we're having with our space programs. Why are we wasting money on this? We need to focus on what's happening on our planet, kind of thing, And I also think it's very, very biased for us to discount all of these potential unintelligent alien life forms, or different types of intelligence, right? I mean, crows are really smart, but they're not going to go to space anytime soon. At least not to my knowledge. Maybe they're planning something, but, So, are we going to be able to find, a planet full of birds kind of thing? No, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist and that they're not awesome and worth inspecting. It just means we're not gonna run into them anytime soon, with our respective spaceships, or listen to any of their transmissions, because they're not producing them. So they might be intelligent in a way that doesn't lend itself to mechanical things, or technological, electronic kind of stuff, right? So if they have their own I almost want to think about it like the orc boys, like the orcs from Warhammer 40k. You know what I mean? Like, everything was really intuitive for them, and if you try to pick up one of their weapons and you're not an orc, then you can't really use it. So it could be something like that, where they've just evolved down a totally different path, and they are intelligent. They're just not skyward, if that makes sense. The distances between galaxies, stars, and planets is so vast, it's hard to conceptualize. Right. And so that's, part of what I'm thinking, is that the light from some of these systems, is so old. What hope do we have to receive a transmission from there if there was like a race similar to ours that had started at exactly the same time, for example. How likely would we be to even receive their transmission just because of the distance? And that's kind of what I think. Let's see. Yes, Caleb, can you just send me a message on Discord, like a DM? Has anyone discussed how alien life could be completely unrecognizable? Yes, David. Actually, I did. I was saying that would be one of the issues. So we were talking about sending a probe to Enceladus and why we would go there because it has liquid water. And then I had just kind of mentioned as an aside, that doesn't mean that water is required for life. It's just that's the life we would most likely know how to recognize, because if there was a life form that was super low metabolism that could shut off its internal organs to conserve energy and was very, very hard and appeared as if to be just rocks to us, we would say, oh, this is just a dead planet full of rocks. But in reality, the rocks are a life so different from us that we wouldn't recognize them as life. So that's yeah, we did kind of mention that. Let's see, I think it was Israel that said that they've already been contacted, and the aliens just said, nah, fam, humans aren't ready to visit with us yet. Be back when you evolve. Are you sure that's Israel and not like some Anunnaki kind of alien conspiracy people? Cats on another planet in debate. One would say there is no Lee, and still another one would say there could be a Lee. How else do we explain catnip treats that we have? That's true. They do like their catnip. I like their catnip too. It's a good tea if you have body pain. We do have a tendency as human beings to mock what we do or what we don't know. My question would be why these intelligent beings who can simulate a whole galaxy and a whole world would make something similar to them, because we all know how that goes. The monster has a tendency to kill the creator type of thing. It's just my idea on it. I think that they would just make something similar to them in the same way we do. We kind of, like, when we have, like, The Sims, I've never really gotten into The Sims, but I think people, as far as I know, enjoy it because it's close enough to humans, but you can mess with them in a way that we wouldn't want to be messed with, and so that's kind of funny. But we can also talk about other games like Dungeons and Dragons, or like MMORPGs if we want to go into like a digital kind of thing, like a video game as opposed to a tabletop game. We tend to role play as characters that are somewhat similar to us or that have characteristics that we wish we had. So it's sort of a way to just put ourselves in the game. And I think that might be what they could be doing as well. Not necessarily, but they could be doing it. Another idea could be that they're trying to understand how the universe started for them, so they created a universe simulator just to see how life could evolve under different conditions, because perhaps they know a lot more about evolution than we do, a lot more about how life can start, and maybe they figured out abiogenesis or something. And so they've created a bunch of planets with a bunch of different issues, or a bunch of different parameters, like it's a certain distance from the star, it's got certain types of mixes of carbon and liquid water or liquid methane or something like that, just to see, can we understand life better? So we could be like a learning simulator for high school students learning evolution, and this is like an extra credit video game for them to play. So that way they could learn more about this. Perhaps they could set up their own planet and set up their own constraints. And so we are like a student's creation, and perhaps they're writing stuff down like, okay, well, this after this amount of time, these types of things evolved and this type of thing happened, and now they're doing this thing and blah, blah, blah. So that could be what they're doing. They could look exactly like us. They could be totally human. And just trying to figure out how they evolved. And then once they figured it out, maybe they already know it. Maybe there is an Earth. It's exactly like what we have. And they understand everything about abiogenesis and stuff. And we're just part of like an educational simulator. So that way the kids that really exist could see in quote unquote real time this or sped up time, I guess, the idea of like the Big Bang to wherever they are, and then perhaps where it could go, because we're on a faster time frame than they are. So we could just be an education simulator. It doesn't anything could happen. It's not that we have to be like this, video game for fun, or that we have to be this AI simulation for, I don't know, whatever reason. We could just literally be an education simulator. So there could be people with the same clothes, the same hair, that all the glasses that we have here are based on actual glasses that actually exist. All the animals here are animals that actually exist. Microphones that are shaped like my microphone here are shaped exactly the same. So it could just be that. Yeah, for all we know. Let's see. Of course, the waste heat problem assumes that we keep growing in their energy use like we have. Right. And so that could be something they're trying to prevent. They might be running these simulations to see where they could go wrong and then try to prevent that. So again, we could be literally exactly the same as them, and they're able to just speed up time and adjust for certain things like increase corruption. How would that affect the economy? Increase greenhouse gases. How does that affect, farming? And so we might be one of many, and we might have existed in reality. We might have existed for an hour. You know what I mean? Like in their reality. But in our local time presentation, we have been here for 13 billion years. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think that's the kicker. We don't know how much time has actually passed. We could just be one of several simulations being run that day. There could be another simulation. They might be shutting us down shortly, but all of us would already be dead. We would have, already gone through, our lifetimes and stuff. And, a minute to them would be so different in time for us. So, yeah. Former Israeli space official claims aliens are real. That's different. That's not Israel. That's one person who worked for them. That would be different. I thought you were talking about like the Israeli prime minister says this. This is like one guy. Funny coincidence. D&D night is starting soon for me. Great. We could be an example of what not to do. Right. I think if this was a simulation, it would be illegal. One thing to set up challenges for AI people, another thing to set up things so an AI kid could have certain types of abuse and stuff. Well, Adrian, don't we do that in our games? I mean, not just those really messed up games that some people do create, but we have all of these like really negative things where we kill off entire races or kill people for no reason. You could just walk up to a civilian, like an NPC, and just kill them. You know what I mean? You could just kill a merchant. You could do all of these things that are really, really bad in those games, and we wouldn't consider that illegal, right? So why would this be illegal? Remember, we're not life to them. And to us, we might have trauma and all this other stuff. To them, we're not alive. Do you know what I mean? And perhaps even the trauma could be part of like some real psychologists' trauma simulation to see, okay, what are the ways that this could be fixed, or what are the ways that this could cause long-term damage? What are the ways to prevent it? What are the ways to treat it? So we could be part of a psychology simulation. So that way the real people don't have to go through all of these problems. They can just keep running different sims on what works best for trauma. Do you know what I mean? So we're not real people to them if this was the thing. Yeah. If their lifespan is much longer than ours, they could study many generations of us like we do of fruit flies. Right. And they would just program it that way, you know. I think if aliens have in a protective bubble of sorts, we can't detect their signals. That could be. Do you think there would be a way to escape the simulation? No, I don't think so. Because it's not like the Matrix where we have a physical body, but our brain is on a virtual journey. We don't have a physical body. Right? So that's this idea with Down the Rabbit Hole. How does Mario escape Mario World? Do you know what I mean? How does Link escape Hyrule? You can't. He can't even go to another game. Do you know what I mean? Unless you program it like Smash Brothers, right? You just can't. That's not possible. They're not even living in all the same dimensions that we're living in. And so there could be dimensions that our programmers live in that we can't even comprehend. You know what I mean? Have you heard of Boltzmann brains? We talked about the brain in a vat thing. This is not what the down the rabbit hole thing is, though. The down the rabbit hole thing that we're talking about on the screen, that is the idea that we can't find the aliens because we're in a simulation created by the aliens. That there are no aliens. We're in a we're just game characters. Yeah. Crows are my spirit animal. They're pretty awesome. We're like one of those scrap pieces they hung up in the factory I worked at. Guys, if you accidentally make a sim like this one, trash. Yeah, right. If we aren't real people to them, that would be scary as hell. Yeah, but again, let's think about how often do we consider the thoughts of the NPCs that we kill. You know, if you've ever played like Grand Theft Auto, how often that's half the fun is being able to go crazy. Of course, I'm like the dork who's like, I'm going to drive the speed limit sometimes too. But half the fun is just going nuts, you know, beating up strangers and, you know, stabbing people. That's half the fun of the game is that. But how often have you gone to bed and lied awake at night thinking, oh my gosh, I killed that person in the game. What if they were real? What if they had like a family they were going home to? You don't think about that. And so I would suggest that they wouldn't think about that with us either. Loving these gamer analogies. I think it makes more sense to call it that as opposed to a simulation. Yeah, the simulation, cool. But I think that word keeps getting used, and so we get those confusion with like the brain in the vat thing and the Matrix thing. So that's why I just said let's just call it a video game. Yeah. Aliens may survive on Earth by being useful to humans like chickens. Oh yeah. That's an interesting concept. Although I would say that they're not surviving though, right? They're just kind of existing and then being killed. Yeah. There's a hacker programmer named George Hotz who argues we could escape the simulation by uploading our consciousness to a medium in the reality of the situation. Simulation is nested. Okay, so like a robot that has enough memory to receive a consciousness. Is that what you mean? That would be pretty cool. That would be pretty awesome. Yeah. But again, is that even? How would we make that jump? Right. So again, I'm asking you to think about one of the Sims or Link or, you know, any other game character. How would they make the jump to upload themselves to some kind of robotics, right? Who's going to upload? How is Luigi going to upload himself onto a Tesla? That's kind of what I'm saying, yeah. I feel like the discussion about detecting and communicating with aliens is similar to the discussion about communicating with future civilization and telling them to stay away from nuclear waste. That's true. That's one of my favorite things is like, how do we stop them from looking at this stuff? You know, the more that we tell them to stay away, the more exciting it is. And then, they get super cancer, you know. There are similarities about not knowing their psychology and trying to figure out the possibilities. Yeah. And I think it's fun. You know, it's fun it's like a thought game. Why would a simulation need us to be aware of what's happening? It wouldn't. That's the thing. It wouldn't. So the most that we could get is we're guessing it's a possibility as the characters. That's the most that we could get. We would never, because when you turn off a game, you don't like attempt to communicate with the characters. Hi, this has all been a game and I'm turning this off. They're just not there anymore, you know. So I don't think there would be. That's what I'm saying. I don't think there would be, you know. If we, I mean, I like the idea of us being like an education simulator, you know. Why not, right? I never liked The Sims either, but obviously we're a lot more advanced than The Sims. We are conscious beings. It just seems like we're still walking on a thin line. Right, but compare, like, think about how more advanced we are compared to The Sims. The programmers might be that advanced compared to us. Do you know what I mean? Well, I feel like complex Sims would have enough to where you can get away somehow. But why would they build that? What I'm saying, I guess, is why would the programmers even build for that? If I knew as a programmer that my AI was so good that it could go wild, I would do my best to prevent that. You know what I'm saying? But again, how would we? Like, how would we know enough about the world outside of the, like, let's say that we're in a computer game. How would we even be able to know enough about the world outside of the computer to be able to figure out how to interact with it enough to put ourselves in there? You know what I mean? It's like one of those movies from the 80s about like the early internet and how, like, today when we look at it, if we watch it, we're just left with a million questions. Well, how did they do that? And how did that happen? That couldn't happen, that kind of thing. I think that's what I'm trying to get at, is that for us to be able to do that, we would have to know so much about the world outside of the computer. And we're stuck in the computer, not even in the computer, in a program on the computer. We would have to know, how could we learn about the world outside of this program? That's step one. So before we can talk about uploading our consciousness to something else in the real world, how could we even know how the real world could possibly operate? You know what I'm saying? Let's see. I feel like a complex sim. Let's see, Ghost in the Machine. If you watch the talk Jailbreaking the Simulation with George Hotz, he describes how Super Mario could theoretically escape from the SNES and into our internet. Yeah, I'll have to watch that for sure. I think you're biased towards the education simulator because you're a teacher. Yeah, that could definitely be it. I think the other reason is that we tend to not build in like so much backstory into a character. So if we're playing, no, maybe, you know, I take that back. Because when we're playing a game, because I'm thinking like Dragon Age Inquisition, right? The characters in the game know about the history of the world, you know. Yeah. So yeah, we could just be in a game. That's kind of what I was thinking. That we would be an education thing because we have like a start from the start of the universe. But yeah, so do a lot of RPGs, don't they? Yeah. So maybe we're just an RPG. I can't. Are we so boring for our characters? You know, maybe that's why we get those like random attacks that are just so shocking. Like, how could these people slaughter and then cannibalize their family or something? And maybe it's just like one of the gamers was just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be chaotic evil today, you know. What if the dinosaurs realized they were in a simulation, so the programmers killed them with an asteroid? It could be. It could be. But what's happening, I mean, what happens around us in the simulation, if in it. Okay? If they might not be trying to simulate people, maybe they're simulating galaxy formation, and it's just so high fidelity that life evolved on one planet. Right, right. The other thing is that they are trying to simulate different conditions under which they know life can evolve, and they're trying to test other conditions. That could be one. And we're just in there in that way. We're just, we happen to be close enough that we're a life springing planet, and they're not even watching us, right? They're like looking at these other planets somewhere else, and they're not even paying attention to us. What if you underestimate your AI? If we are a code, then we can hack. I suppose, but again, how? Like physically how? Physically, how would I, part of the code, be able to open up a separate program on the computer to modify the code on this other program? Like physically, how could I do that? That's kind of the question. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm not like a computer person, so maybe I'm not explaining it very well. Maybe there are answers for this already. So I am asking, like actually asking this. I'm not posing this as like this question and then like, haha, gotcha. That's not what I'm doing. I'm legitimately asking because there's a lot of stuff about computers I do not know. But that's like the first step for me is not, okay, cool, what are the different things that we could have uploaded ourselves, but more like we're stuck inside of one program on a computer and there's many programs on the computer. How do we go from that to knowing enough about the rest of the world outside of the computer that we're able to interact with other stuff outside of the computer or outside of the program? So that's my question. Programmers get stuff wrong all the time. I've spent the last 2 days trying to solve a simple problem, which should only take one line of code. Yeah, that's, I guess, another thing. What about all the programming gremlins, right? I mean, what if that's like where the cancer and stuff would come from, assuming the simulation thing, we're just so many like screwed up artifacts of code, Video drone. Oh my god. Let's see. How are you doing? I'm doing all right, Moonlight. How about you? Let's see. There's an SMBC comic about if the universe was a simulation, what would the maximum speed of light and quantum uncertainty, or we would see the maximum speed of light and quantum uncertainty at small scales, which we do. Scientists are good at figuring things out. Right. But I think one of the problems is that we understand that as far as we've come, there are certain things we may never be able to figure out just because one good example would be, how could we know for sure there are universes outside of our own, like the multiverse thing? It's an idea and there's a lot of sense that it could make, but how could we know for sure if we can't escape our universe? That kind of thing. So if it is the case that the universes, that there is a multiverse, but each verse is so self-contained that there's no way to escape it, there would be no way to ever check that. And so that's one of the problems that we have, is that we might be so legitimately limited, no matter how technologically advanced we get, that we may never find this stuff out. So it's like, we shouldn't underestimate what future scientists can do, but we also I think we also shouldn't overestimate what future scientists can do, and just assume that in the future all these problems will be taken care of. I mean, I keep like teaching history. It's just like, here's humans being stupid in the exact same way we've been stupid forever, and now we're still being stupid. We're just doing it faster, So that's like, it's perhaps we just can't get over our own like evolutionary programming to the point that we would be able to succeed in certain capacities. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of limitations that could really be a limiting factor as opposed to, oh, we'll figure out a way to get over this later. It could really be just a limitation. Yeah. Never really got into Star Trek. How do I give people Fs on live chat? Let's see. Let's see, the world is a simulation. Just gotta remove. All right. And cool. All right. Let's see. Am I able to click on stuff? No. Nice. Awesome. Cool. Let's see if we could find you guys. Where did we... When I scroll down, it kind of jumps. Let's see. Which is good. It means we're having a lot of good conversation. Let's see. Triskadelion. All right. Do you think there could be a species of aliens that are pure thought forms? Sure, why not? I don't know the limitation. Do you know what I mean? I don't know the limitations of life. So I can't rule anything out. And I also can't say how possible it is. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if it's possible, probable, but I also can't tell you it's impossible and improbable. So could there be? Possibly, right? But maybe not possibly. So sure, there could, but does that mean there is? That kind of thing. This world is a simulation. I mean, it could be. Yeah. When do we unlock the white mage in this one? I know, right? That's the other reason I think this could be an education simulator, because boy, I would have liked some cool powers. You know, come on. What do I got? The power of migraines? You know. Does any character in the game kill itself? I would say so. Sometimes, you know. I would say so. Lemmings. Yeah, Lemmings, those games. Yeah, they kill themselves. Don't tell me that they're not doing it on purpose. So we're an accident in the simulation. We could be, or not so much an accident, just like a byproduct, I would say. A byproduct of how the simulation was set up, and we're just not anything that is being monitored. Yeah. You know, if we, like, let's say that there's a planet they're actually watching, and then we end up flying to that planet, then the person who's running this simulator could be like, oh, that's fun. Oh, look, you guys, this other planet did this thing. Oh, that's interesting. And then they could, like, rewind it and check, like, how that happened, you know. But that's sort of the idea. Not so much that we're an accident. It's just they set up the parameters for life creation, and they're just watching one particular planet, but they're not watching us. So there's all these other planets where life had formed. They're just not being monitored because they're not testing it a certain way, or they're not looking at certain things for whatever reason. So they're just checking this one planet that they're interested in. And we could just live and die without them ever knowing. Yeah. So that I guess would be the deist god created everything but doesn't care about us, you know. Let's see. Probably through self-improvement, breaking limits. I mean, I can't. Again, what limits can we break through? You know, can I turn myself into pure energy? You know what I mean? Can I become lightning? Can I work out so hard that I become so strong so I can lift a very large box of 20 elephants over my head? Like, there are limitations, right? The idea that we can just keep improving without limits does not seem realistic to me, at least within our parameters. Maybe if we are a simulation, maybe that is something they can do, you know, but that's not, like, you can't just keep self improving to the point where you break through reality. You know what I mean? Like, are you able to practice running so much that you can beat the speed of light on foot? That's the kind of thing that I feel like you're talking about. For a video game character to recognize it's in a video game, comma, figure out that it's on a program on a console, comma, figure out how to interact with other programs on the console to reprogram us, comma, figure out a way to monitor something outside of the console, comma, figure out how to transfer itself to another thing outside of the console. That, to me, I think is like asking a human to practice running to the point where they beat the speed of light. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that might be too far. Yeah. I think that's... I mean, could it happen? I don't know how impossible it is, right? But to me, that doesn't seem... That is literally breaking our reality and saying, yeah, that's self-improvement. I don't think we have enough self-improvement to break through reality. Like, that's what I'm saying, yeah. Humans are the virus. I mean, we could be. Everyone watch Isaac Arthur? I have not. Do you have anything that you recommend of theirs? Let's see. I'm cooking and creating BDU uniforms. Okay. I want to respect my abilities. Yeah, no doubt. Maybe migraines are a deterrent for life forms. That mind control. Right. I wanted to write some stories where different kinds of disabilities were described in a different way. And so the idea for migraines was that I would be describing a character, and the character wouldn't have migraines. The character would be having some issue, and I would be explaining it so that way someone who doesn't have migraines can kind of get the idea of what it's like to live with them, but through like a fiction story. But this was like alien, like implants, like brain implants. Yeah. Hello, Menno. Hello, Sean. But I have told people, like, they'll say something like, well, why did this happen to you? And I'm like, well, I guess I was just getting too awesome, that my body broke down trying to contain all of that awesome. Let's see, Dragon Ball Lee. Like Gilligan's Island with the radioactive spinach. Don't know. I don't really watch Gilligan's Island that much. Just attach the program sensors on the hardware. I don't know how realistic that is. But yeah, thanks for recommending his series about the Fermi paradox. If you want, you can go to my About page. There's the link to the Discord, and you can post some links there if you like. You can't post links here, though. That just doesn't let you. Let's see. It's a big galaxy, and these intelligent beings know how to keep every being on their side in check. No, I don't think they have to do that. Like, I mean, we have, like, AI simulators. You know, we have them. And they don't attempt to contact us. They don't do any of that. You know, and yeah, our AI, of course, you know, has a long way to go and all of that. But they're not like we just kind of let it go. You know, we're not concerned that it's gonna shatter the screen and try to take over us or something. And I think in the same way, if we are the lowly AI of these other programmers, they're gonna put a lot of limits, I think, on us. You know, because they would be trying to do something for a game, so they just wouldn't program us with certain abilities, right? Or they're trying to do an education thing as opposed to an entertainment thing, and they would program like really limited sets of things because they wanted to test or explore a concept, so they have to limit all this other stuff. You know, they are getting rid of these unnecessary extra variables. So we might be maybe they can like jump and fly, for example. Maybe they can read each other's minds, right? But for what they're testing for the simulator, they don't program us with those same abilities. So there could be a lot of things we didn't get just because they're not testing for that. They're programming and testing for a different thing. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that that I guess maybe we're not, I don't think we would be so equipped to do any of these things that you guys are saying. I just don't, I think that would just be a waste of time programming. Because that wouldn't be what they want. Like that, why would they program at us with absolutely every possible option? Right? That just, why? What are they making the game for? They're going to make it for that. What are they making the educational simulator for? They're going to make it for that. They're not going to program us with like all these abilities. You know what I mean? That's my thoughts on it. Let's see. George Hotz argues that extreme physical reactions in our universe, like particle accelerators, could perturb the machine hardware that runs simulation and therefore change the code. Sure, right? But when we were talking about this and I was mentioning something about cancer, I was thinking about Chernobyl and how that could fit in. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's I don't know if it would change the code as much as it would be like a bug, that it wasn't programmed for that, and then we tried to do that, and then we broke a thing. So like Chernobyl, maybe if the simulation wasn't built for handling that much radiation interaction for living beings, right? So there's radiation interaction on the scale of like a star, but not for like living beings to be that close. And perhaps we went buggy, right? That's why we have all these like skin melting kind of things, right? Not literally, but well, that type of burn that you get, your skin can slough off later. But maybe that's what happens. Maybe it bugged out because we did this thing that the game didn't expect, If we find life on another planet, it's statistically unlikely to have intelligence comparable to humans. Right, statistically. We could find them, like, if we found, like, I guess, back up. If aliens had come to visit our planet at any other time, we would have been so uninteresting to them. We might be very interesting to them now, but just imagine if aliens did stop by Earth, but they stopped by here 1 billion years ago, and they were like, oh, that's cute, and they just like marked off Earth, and then they just left. You know what I mean? So that could have happened too. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next one. Earth is a fishbowl, which makes us the fish. So I guess this would be kind of similar to what we had sort of mentioned just a second ago, that we're just being monitored, like we're just kind of watched. They're letting us evolve without influence, ultimately forging our own path. What do you guys think about that? So that aliens do exist, but they're not interfering with us. I think a lot of, even South Park did something like that. Not just with that canceled episode, but that one where they go to like warp speed with the Pinewood Derby thing. And then there was, of course, Star Trek. This whole Prime Directive thing where we could be so primitive that they don't interact with us. What do you guys think of that idea? Black holes are already screwing with the fabric of reality. Right. But again, I don't think it would be a way that would, like, when a game bugs out, that doesn't damage the rest of the console. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I have a game, what was that game? Redemption? I don't know. Red Dead Redemption? Is that the name? I didn't play it. But there was a lot of people posting about how buggy some of the stuff was, and it was creepy. Like, they would go into a room, but like the AI would be doing some weird thing or something. Like, the game had bugged out in such a way it was creepy, because if you did this one thing, or you went in during this one time, or you went in before this other thing, that the game didn't expect that, and so it ended up being like super messed up in like one room. That doesn't damage the rest of your games. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't affect anything. You can even go back to like the save spot before that and just do it a different way, and then it doesn't pop up again. So I don't think something like getting close to a black hole or doing anything that's so like big brain science time, right? That it would change our fundamental understanding of things. I don't think that would allow us to break through. I think that would break part of the game, and then we would just get reset to our previous save point. Do you know what I mean? I don't think... Maybe that's what the Mandela effect is. If we want to go kind of weird, okay, maybe that's what the Mandela effect is. Maybe a thing happened and then somebody bugged it out. They shut the game down, fixed it, and then restarted it from the previous save point, and so something like changed slightly. That could be it, you know? But my point is that the stuff that is happening in our universe that we could see as, perhaps we could break through this thing and then somehow escape our game, I just think it would just break part of the game. We would get shut down, fixed, and then started up from a previous save point. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's just like in any of our games, nothing that like beta testing has never had a character leave the game and then infect Google Chrome. Like if you're playing a computer game, for example, there's never been that situation where a game bugged out to the point that the characters infected your computer and then attempted to leave through the wires. Do you know what I mean? So I can't imagine why we would be any different. I feel like that's sort of that exceptionalism kind of thing, that we're so good or so special that we could somehow, instead of being blessed by the gods, that we could somehow meet the gods or destroy the gods or something like that. I think it's us feeling like we're more awesome than we are. You know what I mean? That's just how I see it. Let's see. There's cave paintings of spacemen from when they stopped by. Yeah, I mean, the Aboriginal, dream, what is it? Not dreams walkers. Oh my gosh. Dreamtime. Right? Let's see. Now, I'm not sure we're going to be able to finish this, so maybe we can talk about this later. The problem is I'm getting a migraine, so that is the problem. Let's see. When people say that we can outstate the game, my comment is that the intelligence B decides to make one of their AI friends and spill a lot of secret codes can be recreated possibly. Right, yeah, I suppose if they programmed it that way. For sure. But I don't, yeah, why not, right? They could do that. But I think the idea is that they're saying here, Nikki, is this that we could somehow unlock it against the will of our programmers. And I just... It's kind of like DNA, code, mechanics. When you put a thing that's not supposed to be there, when that happens, it breaks it. Do you know what I mean? When you insert, like when you mess with it, that's why I tell the students, like with stuff like Chernobyl and Fukushima and stuff, it's it's not like the comic books where you get superpowers, you just get super cancer. Like when you mess with something, it breaks, right? You can't. It's very difficult to just like stick your fingers into code or DNA or something, shake them around, and then be extra successful, right? I can't just open up an engine and just start putting stuff in there to try it out and see is it going to work without knowing anything about it. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like it would, if we were somehow able to do that, I just think we would break part of the game. I don't think it would lead to anything. It would just be a bug, it's just a bug. That's all it would be. Maybe we're being beta tested, and that's why, maybe that's what all these black holes, maybe the black holes shouldn't even exist. and we're just being beta tested, and that's why they're there, Let's see. Very obscure game. Yeah, I haven't heard of EVO. Is that the Evolution game? No, that was on like a computer, wasn't it? I don't think aliens will ever visit Earth. Stars don't live long enough for life on a host planet to evolve and develop the capability to get here. Yeah, I think that would have to entail that concept of like just long distance space voyages where you have like a civilization on a spaceship. And then like 10,000 years of living on the spaceship go by. But think of how much we've changed in 10,000 years as a species, Could that even be a thing? I think the fishbowl will be too big. We've sent out space probes of the inner solar system. That's true. Right. It wouldn't just be Earth. It would be like our local, it'd be our solar system, wouldn't it? Yeah. But perhaps, I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of empty space, quote unquote. And so, when we send that probe out and it's like out of the solar system and the solar system is the fishbowl, maybe the aliens are like, oh, let it go. Okay. And then just go back to watching it. I don't know. If aliens are observing Earth, then they must have gigantic radio antennas to see what's going on from so far away. So, possibly. I see what you're saying, David. So this is the idea of like an extra. They don't necessarily have to follow our exact same, like, what am I talking about? They don't have to follow our exact same, like, they don't have to be exactly like us, right? They're not using radio waves. They could have some kind of access to another, like, cloaking device, something. Do you know what I'm saying? Let's see. David says, LOL, remember when this was a skeptic channel, now we're discussing black holes creating the Mandela effect. I don't see, now this is the thing I had mentioned before about the idea of skeptics. There are people that they're so skeptical that they won't entertain anything else. That the idea is, well, we have no evidence for it, move on. We're having fun here. This is still, there's nothing non-skeptical about having a thought game, right? If I said black holes do cause the Mandela effect, okay, then you can say, gosh, guys, remember when this was a skeptic channel? Ha ha ha. But to say that we're all having fun thinking about something together, therefore it's not skeptical, I don't think that's I think that's the problem that I've had with the skeptic community. I guess if you want to call it a community, online especially, it's this idea that if you want to talk about anything, just to explore the concept, that they make fun of you, like you're some, like, harebrained conspiracy theorist. But then as soon as you say, okay, fine, if you guys don't want to talk about it, I guess I'll talk to the quote-unquote harebrained conspiracy theorist. But as soon as you talk to them, you are skeptical. So you ask them questions to, well, do we have evidence of this? Can you justify it? And then they get mad and say, oh, you're the type of person that's just here to troll and you don't actually believe in this stuff and you're closed-minded, whatever. So I'm trying to, like, have this middle section where we don't believe in stuff until we have evidence for it. Yeah. But at the same time, to just shut down and say, I'm not even willing to entertain it for fun, I don't see the purpose of that. Maybe it's not your type of entertainment. Cool. But I think it's fun to think about other possibilities. I think it's fun. Do I believe in it? No, not at all. There's no evidence, right? There's no evidence of it. I just think it's fun how, if this was the thing, okay, then we could kind of use it to possibly explain this other stuff. If it worked in this way that we're thinking, ha ha ha, wouldn't it be fun? But to say that it's non-skeptical to enjoy discussing concepts, I mean, that's just silly. Now I know why one of the people that remember Jiffy peanut butter, right? I think Jif and Jiffy, I think that was Jiffy Lube and Jif peanut butter. I think people just kind of put them together. That's what I think. I see you never tried any of those old games that had bundled spyware, though it's not a character leaving a game. It's something internal that becomes that. I would hope that, I don't think that, I mean, I guess, but how, that's so different from, like, a game from a legitimate company. Do you know what I mean? But I guess you're talking about the spyware of, like, ads and stuff. I guess, yeah. But those, even still, if we're talking about like those ad spyware stuff, that is put into that's to do another thing, right? That's just an add-on there. But the characters in the game that the spyware is attached to, they're not the ones doing it. So I still think that's a great like a great thing to say, but I don't think it applies here though. Although, what spyware would we have attached to us, I wonder? For that to happen, you have to give the program the ability to call the necessary pieces of hardware. Right, and why would you? Why would you? Do you want a video game? Like who would want that? Who would create that on purpose? Right? That's what I'm wondering. Who would do that? Why would you have your characters and it's not, so again, to go back to like Mario or Link or something, like if I had it on my computer as like a ROM, why would I allow for that? For Link to mess with my hardware, you know? And even still, the problem is that it wouldn't even have to be him doing that. It could just be part of the programming could just act in a way I didn't expect. I was going to say hiccup, but I think that's too random. But it could just act in a way I don't expect. And so I could be playing, my character's doing the thing. The character isn't even aware of being able to access the hardware if it chose to. But there could be like a bug that when I let my game be able to do that, it just crashes something. You know what I mean? So I keep going back to that idea. If we're just, just putting stuff in and taking stuff out at random without really knowing what we're doing, it tends to screw stuff up. It doesn't tend to make like a superhuman anything, If you develop super advanced AI that creates a sim game with sentient beings, you're essentially their god. If you tell them torture is moral, you are immoral. Divine command theory defeated. Do you think if we were being monitored by so to go back to the education thing, and we're like some students, like he's just playing with us, whatever, do you think that student would be disgusted by us? Can you imagine, like, during the Inquisition, the student's like, hey, come check out what my idiots are doing. What are they doing? They're torturing each other. Why? Well, because these people, they got sick, right? And so these other people, they learned that certain plants make you not be sick. And so they started killing them. Wait, what? So that would be kind of fun. I think the other reason that I kind of gravitate towards that, not just being a teacher, but the other reason I think I kind of gravitate towards that is that I kind of like to think of not nihilism, but like absurdism. This idea of just laughing at stuff, because life is pretty absurd, I think, when you think about it. Stuff like Murphy's Law and whatever. That, to me, that's my humor, I guess. So this idea that here we are thinking that we're this like amazing thing and we're super advanced and whatever, but really it's just like some biology version of Oregon Trail for some alien species. I wowould be very, if that was reality and somehow we were aware of it, I would be very satisfied knowing that. I don't know why. I feel like I would be very satisfied. I would maybe try to talk to the kid that's playing the game. But I feel like I would be very satisfied with that. I don't know. I think that's just, it's just my humor, maybe. Let's see. If you write the program in any language other than C, C++, assembly, or machine code, then even if the program did figure out how to call the hardware, it would run very slowly. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe that's what magic is. You do something random which disrupts or exploits the simulation code. Yeah, that could be it. I think that we have all the explanations for magic, quote unquote. And especially since, like, this idea of, like, witchcraft magic, that was literally just knowing stuff about the, like, plants in your area and understanding human psychology a bit before we really understood, like, the science of psychology. But if we're going to talk about those times when I don't know. I think all these, I don't know. I mean, I like the concept, or I get where you're coming from is what I should say. I just think we have enough explanations for that. You know, like a lot of times people have hallucinations. It's when they were tired. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. You know, where they would see something and they swear it was an angel, but really they had just like dozed off while driving for half a second. Do you know? That's kind of how I think that magic has enough explanation already. I don't know. Maybe you guys disagree and you guys can share something with me, but I think enough of it has an explanation already, you know, without even having to appeal to this idea of, well, we'll figure it out in the future, but it could be something we don't understand. No, I think there's, like, I really think it's a lot of stuff we do just totally get. Even stuff like shadow people, which I was going to do a video on eventually. Some people talk about it being like demons or extra dimensional beings, but I mean, we all have the basic same components to a brain. If we're in a position where that brain receives a certain type of stimulus, it's going to react in a similar fashion. You know, it's like when people take certain substances, for example, their brain responds very predictably to it, even though the things that they may see appear to be trans-dimensional or mystical, these like really nebulous, ill-defined words. We could have predicted that because we know how the brain works when this substance is introduced. And so I think that stuff like shadow people and stuff, it's just that. It's just like the right amount of being alert but being tired and having too much sugar and too much caffeine, and then there's like this input from, you know, darkness or something, you know what I mean? Like a certain level of light, that's what I mean by that darkness thing. That it produces a hallucination of certain shapes. I think that would totally like explain it. I'm not saying that's what it is. Could it be interdimensional beings? I guess, right? But I think that's probably the more likely explanation, you know. Evo was the evolution year. Oh, okay. And maybe I'm misremembering it as a online thing. But there was something online, wasn't there? There was also that one on what? The Sega CD. I have... You know what? I think my student showed me that video, Gravity's Not a Force. I think my student showed it to me. The idea of code can't escape is a result of common practices and security policies rather than the code's inability. Okay. There's extra code to keep programs self-contained. So, assuming that, can the code break the code that self-contains it? That's, I guess, that would be the next question. Let's just say that you plan on traveling to our nearest galaxy, Andromeda. In your opinion, what would be the most plausible way to do so? Are you saying me as a human in a human body? Because I think the most plausible way to do so that could be done within the next 100 years possibly is to send like my consciousness, like to upload an AI based on my personality so much that it's effectively me being sent there. Ship it out as fast as you can, I guess, and, you know, have it on some kind of like robotics. I like the robot that's the four-legged thing with no head. I like that. So I wouldn't mind being put onto that. Yeah, I guess that would be the best way. Probably with something that, I don't know, some solar powered sail kind of thing, you know. We are talking about aliens. The odds of us actually understanding their tech, I believe, is very small. We are just starting to understand tech. Right. Imagine taking a computer and introducing it to people, 2,000 years ago, right? Not to be confused with Project Veritas. No, thankfully, no. That wasn't it, thankfully. Q. Early programs were given free reign of the computer could fiddle with anything in it. The early operating system developers didn't prevent viruses, okay? Things didn't used to change all that much for hundreds of years. Might be a plateau in technological advance, leads to a very long period of basically staying the same, perhaps. But I also think that one of the things that we have to get over, if we can get over, maybe we can't, is our desire to keep doing the same thing. By that, I mean the concept of email, for example, is not a new concept. It's just a new way to do a thing we've been doing forever, which is passing on information. Do you know what I mean? So I think that a lot of our ideas plateaued a long time ago. I think. Yeah. Can they get better? Sure. But I think a lot of our ideas plateaued a long time ago. I think some newer ideas in terms of like the length of time that Homo sapiens have existed, surgery, flight. I'm sure there's more, but I'm having a hard time. I was gonna say flight, then so depth, right, going down, but no, we've done a lot of stuff in the water, you know. We're just doing it with different. We're doing it with different technology, but we've still done stuff in the water. What else would be new? Building stuff? No, we've done that. Yeah. What do you think is relatively new in terms of a concept? Right? Because I would say the idea of surgery is pretty new. But that... Not dentistry. Yeah. Dentistry, I would say, is not new. It's pretty simple. If my head hurt or my mouth hurts and then I see this big swollen thing here that's like oozing pus, you know, knock that tooth out. That kind of makes sense. But more like the ability to really like understand what's going on in the body, and to know that if I cut open a body, that doesn't, not only does it not necessarily result in death, but I could actually improve the person's quality of life. I think that's a new concept in terms of like how long humans have been around. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think is like a new concept for humans? New, like in the last 1,000 years. Let's see. I love the thought experiments. Yeah, I think they're fun. I believe aliens are real. Reasoning is the Fermi paradox. What do you mean that's the reason? The Fermi paradox would be if, like, well, explain that, I guess. Explain what you mean by that. Let's see. Link and Mario are just mapped to controls anyway. They don't have AI. I know. Wasn't there a game that unexpectedly called you by your name? Looking it up in the Windows registration. Yes. Oh, gosh. I just remember people were so scared. I should have said magic, not magic. I think magic with the K is the one we do understand. Magic with the C is the one that people think like defies the laws of physics. Yeah. What if we're the toys in Toy Story? I don't know. I don't think that would make sense, because that would mean we're inactive when the gods show up or something. Do you know what I mean? Or the overlords. Leisure Suit Larry. At some point we get a phone call with the survey questions and play those answers back long after you forgot about it. That's interesting. Even if you do write the program in a language that's designed to operate hardware, if it figures out how to access it on its own, it'll probably be very sloppily edited code, so it'll run very slowly. If I recall correctly, there are some types of code that can edit themselves, but those languages aren't designed to access hardware. Okay. This is all very, like, helpful and interesting information, because like I said, I really don't know about that. EVE Online allowed you to make your own music playlist. We could be a nature reserve, a culture the aliens have agreed on not contacting. Right. That's what I'm thinking. That's what the Earth is a fishbowl thing is. But the argument against that was this idea that we would have detected them already But not necessarily. I think it's not necessarily. Evolution game on Sega CD. Yeah, I think it was Angry Video Game Nerd might have done it. Leonard Nimoy. It was like a fish with a human face, and Leonard Nimoy did a voiceover or something for it. Let's see. Can the code break self-contained stuff? Yes, there are several holes in the containment, and there's ways to exploit it. Okay. Dustin King, don't try to make too much sense of what Hiram is saying. Hiram, I just kind of let him talk. He's just interesting. Yeah. Let's see. Invention of the time zone. All right. Electronic implants. Didn't they do trepanation surgery thousands of years ago? Yes. Yes, they did. But I don't know if I would necessarily call that surgery. I guess what I'm talking about is the idea of like cutting open a body, pulling things out, closing it up, and then you're on your way. Do you know what I mean? Like gastric bypass surgery, for example. You're like removing the stomach. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. I mean, there's so many different ways to do weight loss surgery now. But this idea before was like to bypass certain parts of it. That's why it's called a bypass. Let's see. Cleaning up the environment, going green, sustainability. Okay. Is the solar sail a new concept or just a new version of the sail? Particle accelerators are something that didn't exist 1,000 years ago. Okay, that's definitely one. Particle accelerators. And the idea behind it, that's new too, because we didn't know about like electrons and stuff, for sure. The solar sail, yeah, I think it's just a different version of the sail. Yeah. Finding Nemo, I'm not sure. Oh, let's see. Going green, cleaning up the environment, and sustainability. I guess we didn't damage the environment to the point that we would need these concepts, right? I don't know about sustainability, though. I know that was like a part of a thing that had happened in some of these like religious or witchcraft type of practices. You could only take just enough, and you had to leave stuff. So like if you were trying to collect a lot of a thing, I'm sure this had to go back to just farming in general. You can't harvest everything. You have to leave some of it. And if you need more of it, you got to move on to like a different bush. Yeah. Dreamcast, not Sega CD. Okay. Thank you. Yes. C-Man. Right. Wouldn't that be the C-section? No, because I wouldn't say a baby's part of your body. Do you know what I mean? It's like a different entity in there. I'm talking like taking out part of your liver or something. Replacing your heart with something. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. So I would say, yeah, maybe there have been, because I know there have been types of surgery that have happened, but I'm thinking like the stuff where like you're removing organs and they're out forever. I don't know how long that's been around. Yeah. The internet is fairly new, right? Sure, but what is the internet? It's a collection of ideas so you can communicate with people. You know, we've had libraries for a long time. Horrible things have happened. Okay. Nuclear energy. Sure, but that's just another way to make energy, right? And nuclear energy, we're still using water, you know? The water mill, you know. I wouldn't say it's such a leap. Do you know what I mean? I might not be getting the concept, but I'm only talking about where Biden wants to be heading towards sustainability, like atmospheric science or growing fields. I'm not sure what you're... So what I'm talking about is, I was just asking which types of things are new concepts that have been introduced to humans in the past 1,000 years, as opposed to just building upon an idea and just doing it in a faster or cleaner way. So like email, for example, and text messaging, this was a way to, instead of sending a letter, which was a way instead of just communicating with somebody or painting something and then somebody else would come across the same rock and that's how a message would be transmitted, that kind of thing. Vaccination, yeah, I would say maybe vaccination. I think so. I believe our tech will take a huge leap forward in about 1,000 years or so. Yeah, it might take as long as that. Dr. Debasky's use of a pig aorta to replace a worn human one and then creating a synthetic one. Right. Remember when Dan Quayle invented the internet? Was that No, wasn't that Al Gore? Dan Quayle was the potato guy, right? Quantum computing, but that's just computing, right? I would say quantum mechanics, that's new, right? But quantum computing is just using that new discovery of quantum whatever stuff, right? To compute faster. And computing has been around forever, The germ theory of disease, yeah, I would say that's a new one too. The immune system, yeah, absolutely. Even with the germ theory of disease, even if we go back to like Ibn Sina, this guy had this idea of communicable diseases, but he didn't know what germs were. But he had this idea of communicable diseases. But that's still within the past 2,000 years. Yeah. Electronic implants, like deep brain stimulators are fairly novel. So I guess the core concept there would just be the idea of the brain being able to be changed. How long have we known that? And that would be the question. It wasn't clear for me. My bad. No problem. Face transplants. But that's just plastic surgery. Do you know what I mean? That's just another version of plastic surgery. Yeah, I've seen it changed to Avicenna with that, but I don't know if Ibn is the way to pronounce it, but that's the closest I can get. He also wrote about the function of the eye. That's very cool. Pregnancy before marriage. That is not a new concept. Marriage is also not a new concept, but I would say marriage is newer than pregnancy for sure. So pregnancy definitely predates it, yeah. If Al Gore invented the internet, I invented spell check. Dan Quayle. Oh my gosh. All right, let's do one more. Wasn't even seen in the one who invented pinhole cameras. I mean, if there was another guy named after that, okay. But we're talking like the Islamic Golden Age. And this was a guy that had this idea, among others, but one of his ideas was noticing that people were having like a lot of the same symptoms if they were exposed to something or someone, or like water where an outhouse was like near, like a bathroom was nearby this water, and he noticed that people were exhibiting similar symptoms if they drank from this water. So rather than thinking it's like a curse or it's demons or something like that, he thought, what if there's something in the water that's causing this? And that was like, it's big brain time right there. Definitely. Let's see. Destroy or be destroyed. That's the last one we'll talk about for right now, because I thought we would get through so much, and instead we have stopped here, which is fine. I just do want to stop here because we're almost at 2 hours, and this has been great, but I do need to go do other stuff and rest my stupid eyes. All right, so in Darwin's theory of evolution, a tenant says the strongest species survive. Ooh, I don't know about that. The fittest species, not the strongest species. Wording is, yeah. In a similar tactic may be employed by alien beings. Perhaps they stay silent, hoping that the hostile species aren't alerted, or that they strike before others destroy them first. I don't think that's Darwin's theory of evolution. I think that's just knowing that sometimes other groups are aggressive. You know what I mean? I don't think that's evolution. Yeah. I did not make this. You guys can see where they got this. I mean, I know what they're getting at, but I think it's I don't, that they're not evolution, yeah. We've discovered childhood diet has a lifelong impact too. Yeah, I think this idea of childhood stuff, like a diet or things like what a mother consumes while pregnant, that hasn't been accurate, but that concept has existed for a long time, I think. Like there's this old belief that if a mother, I think it's from India, if a mom drinks a lot of milk during her pregnancy, the baby comes out light-skinned, which of course not the case. But this idea that what you do to like a fetus affects it in its life, that concept has existed for a while. It hasn't been accurate, but it has existed, yeah. Let's see. Tangent central. That's okay. That's I started this with, this is how you have to do like classes and stuff. You start it with all of this potential discussion just in case you need it. But then it's totally okay to just get stuck on this one thing, because then you can talk about this stuff later. But you don't want to be in this position where it's like you talk about this thing and you're like, yeah, we could talk about this for 2 hours, and then everyone's like, I've said all the stuff I need to in 10 minutes, and then it's like the rest of the stream is just dead or trying to figure out, what's a comment. So it's better to have more. I like that kind of backup preparation kind of stuff. Let's see. Lasers, helicopters, CMOS sensors, LEDs, nylon are all very novel. Okay, but again, LED, for example, just like an LED, that's light, right? It's bringing light to something like this. This is LED. It's bringing light to something. I mean, it's literally just a candle too. We've had this concept for a long time. This is just not a physical, or like a cotton wick and fat and fire. But it's the same like core concept. That's what I'm talking about. The LED just makes it safer and lasts longer, and I can touch Krampus with it. Krampus? You like it? He likes it. And he doesn't catch on fire, but it's still a candle. Do you know what I mean? It's still a way to bring light to an area that doesn't have it, right? Or to, I guess, set ambiance, But that's what I'm talking about. Helicopters, yeah, again, I would say flight, right? So flight. I think flight was new. I think that's one of the things I mentioned. Nylon again replaced a lot of fabrics, right? It's not like when for example, nylon is pantyhose, right? It's not like when we invented nylon, we decided to create pantyhose for the first time as a thin leg covering that had never existed before. We had that already. It just wasn't in that format. So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about as the core concept. What of those are new that we have? I don't know the CMOS thing. Lasers, I guess it depends on how you're using them. What would be the core concept behind that? I guess, yeah. Like if you talk about lasers as in like LASIK surgery, we've had glasses a lot longer than that. It's the same idea, improving vision. There's just a better way to do it. So that's what I mean about coming up with technology that does something totally different, as opposed to technology that just makes more improvements on this thing that we're still wanting to accomplish, that we've tried to accomplish for as long as we've been around, yeah. And I don't mean to the point where you like, well, we just want to be healthy, so everything related to that is just us wanting to be healthy. I don't think that's like that. We don't want to bring it down to just that, like, oh, improve existence. Then yeah, everything boils down to that. But just like a concept of, I don't know, plastic surgery. I would say plastic surgery is kind of new, I guess. Not really. No, it's not, because it's just another way to cover up something that you find or society finds to be not something they want to look at, right? We've had other ways to do that, like masks and stuff. Yeah, even artificial limbs have been around for a while. Do we have better ones now? Absolutely, but the concept is like artificial limb, yeah. Wasn't it the species that is the most adaptable species? No. The species that is best adapted for its environment. More adaptable species can change with the environment, which is cool, but that doesn't mean that they're best suited for the environment. They're the best suited for the environment that they're in, necessarily. A good example would be humans are really good at adapting, right? But if you put us, a very adaptable species, into a savanna, we would be eaten by a lion, which is much better suited to live there, right? So just because we're really adaptable doesn't necessarily mean we're the best suited for a given environment. So the best suited for the given environment is the one that is going to outcompete, assuming the environment stays the same. But if the environment itself is like very changeable for whatever reason, then yeah, the one that adapts the best is also the best suited, for sure. Kimchi fried rice with cheese really is a new invention. Oh, have you seen the ones where they take the triangle kimbap and then they take the spicy chicken noodles, the bulldapokmyeon, and then you eat most of it, and then there's just a little bit left in the bowl, and then you put the triangle kimbap in there, you mash it up, and then you put cheese on it. And when I saw that, I wanted to die. I'm just like, what are you doing with this? This looks like vomit, first of all. I don't know how it would taste. I'm sure it tastes fine, but the idea that people eat this as a snack, where they eat like this whole bowl of ramen and then they eat this other stuff after, it's like, what do you do, a marathon running, all day? Come on. Blockchain, that's extremely novel, mathematical, much wow. Actually, I don't know off the top of my head what blockchain is. Is that the Bitcoin thing? Is that what that is? I don't. Elon is Satoshi. Is that what you? Yeah. If we are talking about Bitcoin, maybe the blockchain part. But again, it's a new way to have money and transfer money, right? Have wealth and transfer wealth. That's not like a new concept. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that we haven't made technological innovations for these things. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the root concept. So when we create something like a blockchain, is it because we're creating a totally new concept to do things that humans had never even considered in the past? Or are we creating a new technology to improve something we've been doing for so long? That's what I'm talking about as a new concept. Does that help kind of make sense? I thought that it kind of made sense with the LED. Yes, the LED thing is new, but what does it do? Provides light. And we've been doing that forever. Is it safer? Sure. Is it, you got more colors? Yeah. It's better in so many ways than just fire. But fire is very old, and it's this way to illuminate the darkness. That's LED is a step, like another step on that ladder, I guess you can think of it about it that way, but we're still on the same ladder. Okay, so like the ladder is bringing light to darkness, LED is a different step on it, a different rung on it, but we're still on the same concept, right? So if the blockchain Bitcoin thing, that's transferring wealth, that's acquiring wealth, that's not anything, that's definitely a big step on that, or a big extra rung, because wow, that's a totally different way to do the same thing we've been trying to do. Does that make sense? With like the visuals, hopefully. Let's see. 99% of species on Earth have gone extinct. The rest evolved. Individual species don't evolve. It's a process, right, that takes over many generations, right? Individuals of the species, right. Democracy was invented in 1776 by George Washington. Hashtag America. Yep, we all know it's true. Sometimes you need the old ideas to extend for new ideas. It's due to science always adapting or changing. I'm not saying that these are bad. I'm saying, like, this is great. Like, I had Krampus, so I love candles, and Krampus I thought would be like scared of fire or something. And he smelled the candle and he was uninterested in it, so he stepped over it to just like step over it to keep walking. And it caught the bottom of his fur on fire. And I still get sick to my stomach thinking about that visual. Thankfully, he's so hairy, it just burned off like the edges of his hairs and it just went out. But I saw this like flame go over my freaking cat. And I lost my mind. Like, I'm gonna cry just thinking about how scared I was when I saw that. I'm just looking at him licking himself. Love you, Krampus. Okay. So of course I'm really happy for something like this. That doesn't mean that it's lesser, or that the invention is any less amazing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when we were talking about like this idea of how to interact with alien species and well, I don't think we like how some people had dismissed Earth as a fishbowl because, well, we would have intercepted their radio waves. That's so human of a thought. Do you know what I mean? And that was sort of that idea that I was trying to explain, that it's very difficult for us to come up with genuinely new concepts because we're so stuck on just improving these old concepts for whatever reason. It's not that it's bad. It's just that's what really limits us from understanding the possibilities, I think, of how, you know, how reality might actually be, or however you want to phrase it, what could be out in the universe, and the different types of life that could be out in the universe, right? I think we're so limited because we're so, even our new inventions are just redone versions of our old inventions. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's not that stuff like this is not awesome and progressive and that people that worked on this shouldn't be thanked. It's not anything like that. It's just, I think it's wrong for us to dismiss certain concepts just saying, well, because I'm a human and I think another human would have had to human this way, therefore aliens no. Like, I think that's so, that doesn't make sense to me. You know, like how some people say, oh, there are no gods, like that hard atheism, because we definitely would have known it already. Like, how, that's so human centric, I think. You know, how could you possibly know what the gods, if they exist, what the gods could be doing or thinking or whatever, right? That's what I'm saying. So I'm not trying to say that these are bad inventions or stupid, or that the people weren't like innovative enough, just that we can't, it was about the aliens argument. It was just that we can't assume the aliens are going to behave exactly how we expect them to just because we can't think outside of our own existence. That's all it was. Yeah, plastic surgery has been going on for a long time, right? Cheese whiz, okay, but that's just food preservation, right? Let's see. Your request for something that is so new and weird we can't find a way to use it. So again, so you said that I'm moving goalposts, so hopefully that explanation kind of covered it. It wasn't a standalone statement. It was just in reference to that person saying Earth cannot be a fishbowl because aliens would behave exactly as we anticipate them, therefore this cannot be true. That was the reference. That's all it was. It was just that for us to dismiss certain things because they're not exactly human as we've been doing them. That's all it is. Okay. Let's see. Bitcoin is a step on the same ladder as bank transfer, right, which is on the same ladder as wealth transfer. That's what I'm saying there. Yeah. It was just an argument, not that we're not innovative. It's just that we're really stuck in the ways that we do stuff. That's all. It's not good or bad. It's just we're really stuck in the way that we do things. That's all it is. It's we like what we have and we want to make it better. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But it just can limit how we think of other life. That's all I was saying. Yeah. Maybe I didn't express that well enough. Earth, wind, fire, water. No, that's the reduction I didn't want to do. Krampus invented the internet. He did. He went back in time, I bet. He's a interesting being, isn't he? The concept of democracy in the West dates back. Oh yeah, no, that was a joke. That's why they made the hashtag America thing. Yeah, that was a joke. Editing our own genes, perhaps. What would that be, though? Wouldn't that be just a type of artificial selection, right? I like your Gods reference for a backup. I've been playing Smite Battleground of the Gods on Xbox One. You know, I haven't played that. Just the imagery of wearing goalposts as a hat. I mean, that's a good image. Are aliens more advanced than us in all areas? At the time of Columbus, the Aztecs were more advanced in medicines, surgery, astronomy than the Europeans, but they hadn't invented the wheel. No, I don't think aliens would be more advanced than us in all areas. I think that doesn't make sense for us to assume that. I mean, when you're comparing like the Europeans and the Aztecs at the time, you know, they had their strengths and weaknesses, right? They had the stuff that they had been exploring, but those are still human to human. I would even say another species, you know. Krampus is better than I am at doing certain things, jumping really high. You know, he's better than me at that. I don't think that another species would have to be. I don't think that I don't know if anybody was making that argument that they would have to be better than us. I'm just saying that they're different. So the whole thing this came from was this Earth is a fishbowl concept, and one of the people, I forgot who it was, said absolutely not, because we would have found them already, such as when they observed us with radio waves. Therefore, we can automatically say, nope, Earth is not a fishbowl, next. And I thought that was so human-centric to say, and that's why I was just saying we have to figure out a different way, or we have to understand that they may not be observing us in the same way that we're thinking about it. That's all. They had the wheel and axle on Child's Toys. Right. That's, yeah. The thing that you're mentioning about the pack animals, the largest animals that they had access to in terms of like land mammals to control, those were the like alpacas and llamas. Llamas, I think, are bigger than alpacas, but that was it. Yeah, they're not like these mighty beasts of burden, you know. So this idea of overloading an alpaca with a cart, you know, that's just not something you did. Editing genes on the same ladder as selective breeding in animals, I would say so. Yeah, right. We've done that forever, you know. Animals, and well, not forever, but like for the past 15,000 years, 10,000 years, 12,000 years, 10,000 years, possibly 12,000 years. I don't know. I was thinking with a 15. Also, just as an aside, we're not sure which was first, and they may have happened around the same time, but the first recipe was beer or bread, or both. The arguments can be made merely being legalized rather than banned. But would the abolition of slavery be a new concept? I would say it would be a new concept. Well, it would be a new concept if we ever got around to it, as a species. Like during, oh gosh, what was his name? Oh, somebody the Great, not Alexander. What was his name? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna remember it like as soon as we close this too. It was before the Gupta Empire. Ashoka the Great. He banned slavery in like early India. Not early India, but earlier than we're talking. India. So this idea to ban slavery as like but like it never took hold completely, we still have, some would say that slavery, like in the United States, never went away. It just went to the prison system, so that's another thing to consider too. We have prison slaves. Prison labor is a type of slavery, in countries that have banned slavery. We also use stuff, so we might have banned child slavery, but we still use things that are built with child slavery. So we never got around to it. So I would say, yeah, if we got around to banning slavery properly as a species, that would be a new concept. We just haven't done it yet. I don't think we've done it. Yeah. Yeah, that's sad. I had to talk about that with the students just the other day. We never got rid of it. That's why aliens come here. They want to buy wallpaper and paint, thinking they're genius inventions. Oh, there it is. That's it. They just show up to like, they don't have LED. They like our LED candles. I predict that our meme economy is far more advanced. Exactly. Not Carl the Great. Altitude and latitude make a lot of new things possible. That's true. I'm talking more of a concept. Would it need to be implemented and not merely thought of? Must it be put into use? I would say so. It has to be put into use. Yeah. The reason that, as a concept, wouldn't we just consider that like personal freedom or equality? But no, I would say it would have to be put into use, because we'd have to figure out now I know what you're saying about the concept thing. I get that. But I'm saying the reason it would have to be put into use is because we would have to not only think of it, but figure out a way to implement it. And that implementation stage, I think, limits a lot of our creativity. Yeah. Because if we were, we could conceptualize some kind of interdimensional travel, right? But I know how you're saying that's still travel, but instead of, just because we can conceive of it, we would still be very limited by what we can physically produce, right? So I think that just that, I don't know. I'm ambivalent. Sure. As a concept, yeah, why not? We don't have to necessarily do it. What are some new concepts you guys have that are not just a type of an old concept? Just out of curiosity. Cyrus the Great wrote the first constitutional or global constitution and also banned slavery. He also wrote a unified legal system. But we still got the slavery, man. There's still real slavery going on in Muslim countries. There's still real slavery going on everywhere. 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 It's sad. I often wonder what society would be like if political leaders were required to be scientifically literate. I bet the aliens know what that's like. Maybe that's a new one, Layla. That we would require all of our politicians to know exactly what the heck they're talking about, be qualified. Yeah. I think more concept, more is literal. No, I get you. I get you. Because I think, because as I was talking about it, because my idea was we're limited in a lot of things, and that limits our creativity. But as I was thinking about it, I also thought, no, just conceptualizing, just purely as like a thought concept, as opposed to a built or implemented concept, it's pretty hard to come up with a totally new idea. You know what I mean? That's pretty hard to do. So yeah, I would accept that, just even as a thought. What are some things that you can think of that are just different. It's hard. It's hard, you know. I think it's just because of what we are as humans, you know. We've got certain needs and we want to meet those needs. We can't, it's hard for us to figure out needs that we don't realize that we have, right? How do we meet a need we don't realize that we have? So that's where I think a lot of technology comes in, just like curiosity. Oh, well, what if I can make something smaller? Oh, I wonder why this works this way. That can lead us down a path we never expected. But, you know, something like germ theory was that wasn't, I feel like that wasn't intentional. That wasn't somebody, it was like accidentally discovering a thing and then testing the thing we accidentally discovered. Do you know what I mean? That wasn't something that we had just thought of and then decided to necessarily. But I mean, even Cena did. I don't know. It's difficult. It's difficult to say. My Aspie brain is a bit literal at times. Yeah, no, I totally get it. Banning something isn't a magic spell. Right. Look at your iPhone, you're looking at slavery. Yes, exactly. But I guess that's what I'm saying, Menno, is that it's one thing to say, let's ban slavery. It's another thing to make it happen. You know, it's one thing to say, yeah, humans should be able to fly. It's another thing to make that a reality. And so that's why I was saying there's that. I'm not sure if I would require implementation in there, but I think that maybe we should. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I was saying. It was just you know, the concept without implementation is just, you know, how far does that get us, right? Also, when that is implemented, I think it can affect other people. You know, if somebody had a concept, but that concept didn't get a lot of use because it wasn't doable, that concept can kind of die with the inventor, you know, or the creator of the concept. But if we're able to put it into practice, other people are able to really interact with it, make it better, so on and so forth, right? So that's why I think maybe we would have to implement it. I'm not sure. How do you think aliens would politically structure their civilization if they're interstellar? Gosh. How would we? I don't know. All I can think of is like the military or like viceroys. But again, that's just like a human. Oh, well, that's what we did in the past, you know. I think if they are advanced enough for interstellar travel, I would hope they're advanced enough in like their interpersonal research as well, so they would know a really good way to do leadership from afar or localized leadership or something like that. Judging by history, very poorly, right? I think it would be hard to have one government over multiple star systems, but there could be trade between them, so I guess I'd call that capitalism. I mean, that's an economic model more than necessarily a government. Because when I'm thinking, when you're saying capitalism as a government, that would just be like, that's not, like, there's a difference between like a social structure and rules as opposed to, hey, let's produce things and trade it for other things that we need. Do you know what I mean? I think there's like a government model and an economic model. Is there overlap between them? Yes. But to say capitalism is a government, I can't imagine how that would even function. That would, I don't know. Because, I mean, you have to, I guess, take a step back. What would be the purpose of the government? What are the purposes that we want to achieve, or the goals that we want to achieve? The purposes that we all have in common. does this type of system meet that? If not, how do we have to modify it? So I guess we'd have to take a step back. And so what would be the purpose of an interstellar government, I guess? Aliens might be so immensely different from us that the concept of politics don't fit in. Right. They could be telepaths in a hive mind, thus not needing politics. Yeah, exactly. I mean, how many politics do we have to be, to use the hive mind? How many politics do bees have, right? You can call it a monarchy in a way, but, or ants too. This is, yeah, we would call it a monarchy, but it's not like anything that we're familiar with. It's just that, oh well, it's a queen, that's kind of that idea. But the Queen Elizabeth isn't pumping out like every citizen in the UK, right, and all of the UK territories. So I only ever watched like 2 episodes of Babylon 5, unfortunately. On that note, this has been very entertaining, but I must go. So we will continue from there. We'll start with They Are Already Here, and just go down those next 4 next time. Let's see, more state of being where there are independent star systems that trade with each other. Okay, but I guess, but there would still be governments in those star systems, right? Just like we have it now. It would be, you're coming up with what we have on Earth, except instead of each nation, it's like a star system, right? So you'd still want the government in there, and like regulations on trade. Anyway, night, day, yeah, it's 11:54 a.m. I was gonna do the cafeteria club, but I think we're good. Yeah. Alrighty, guys. Have fun. Have a good day, night, day. Can you just say day and not literally mean sunshine time? Have a good existence. Talk to you guys later. Bye.